and welcome to the Squidcast.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Squidcast. I'm Robbie.
I'm Axon.
I'm Christian.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Omar.
And today we're going to talk about Splatoon, the new Nintendo IP after 14 years, guys. 14 years without a new character coming from Nintendo.
What about Cat Mario?
Yeah, Cat Mario. I'm really excited for this game.
Hype is real.
I just came out of cryo sleep to record this podcast with you guys.
Anyone else getting withdrawal from the test fire?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
All of us are. All right.
Aside from the global misfire, but I mean.
All right. So let's head on to the first question. What is Splatoon?
We just talked about what Splatoon is.
We just talked about
Nintendo's new IP.
Nintendo's
We just said it's Nintendo's new IP.
Oh, I thought we were going to go into detail about this.
Right.
For new
folks. Going into detail, it's Nintendo's newest third-person IP. It's a third-person shooter. Third-person shooter where instead of scoring kills, which is the main objective of most third-person shooters, you have to cover the most territory, the most of the ground in your team's ink, and whoever covers the most ground in 3 minutes time is the winner. And you can also swim in your team's ink, and that not only makes you move a lot faster, it also hides you so that your opponents can't see you unless you're swimming at max speed, and it lets you refill your ink a lot faster.
So in summary, you're a squid now, and then you're a kid now.
Oh
Here
my
we
god.
go with the memes.
Here we go, starting off with the memes.
I don't know if they did that song on purpose, actually. I have a feeling they did.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, it's interesting how it's actually, technically it's working because we have all these new memes and it's getting all this publicity. So maybe they did it on purpose. We'll never know.
You gotta remember that they have kids in their target audience, so they're trying to expand how many people are seeing this game.
All these adults getting over this territory.
Kids are taking back Nintendo.
Too many adults are inking the turf. They gotta get some kids.
Alright, so let's talk about the misfire that happened last global test fire.
Yeah, that was weird. Like the first three test fires, I played in all three of the first three test fires, and they worked perfectly fine. Like the very first one, I did get disconnected one time, and that was it. It wasn't like what happened where everyone got disconnected for an hour, and everyone was just sitting there playing Squid Jump.
I think it had to do a lot with the amount of people that were actually involved this time. The first time was the 3 test fires during the same day. And I remember after that day I went onto YouTube and I was looking at some video of a kid who was just getting incredibly annoyed because he couldn't play it. He didn't understand that the game was available only for an hour at a time. And he was just pissed at the game because it wouldn't let him play. So when they did the second one, I think the awareness was so much more, and the people were just in numbers trying to get into this thing, and they were not prepared for it.
Which is a good thing.
There's been a lot more exposure for the game since then. I didn't even find out that the release would be in May until all the exposure from the last test fires.
With the last test fire, it was actually a good thing that Nintendo got wrecked, so to speak, so that when it actually comes out to launch, they actually know what to do to handle the load.
Yeah.
They'll be more prepared for it now.
Yeah, and some people have to understand that this is all a new territory for Nintendo. So I think it's a really good idea that they put out these sort of stress tests just to see how they're doing with their servers. And I thought it was interesting how they even increased it by an hour because of the, outcry that people weren't able to play during the dedicated time.
I think they knew that if they couldn't get it back up, people would be saying, that Nintendo's not prepared for this, don't buy the game, it's not going to work. They have to maintain what people think of the game.
But at the point, they actually have a lot of background doing this kind of thing. I mean, you can play Mario Kart online with people from all around the world at the same time. You can be playing people from Japan, people from Australia, people from the US, people from Europe, all in the same game. And they've been doing this for a while without actually asking even for payment for online, which you might get on something like the Xbox. So the way they handle servers is probably really big already.
Which actually impressed me a lot, because as a player coming from Counter-Strike Global Offensive and the previous Counter-Strikes, netcode is a big deal. And when you have everybody coming from everywhere, Japanese, like Eastern, European, and America, all pulled into the same lobby, lag is a big deal. And they must have done something great with their netcode, because it's almost not noticeable.
Yeah, true. Other than a couple instances where you spray ink on the ground and it just doesn't happen.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe in the full game it'll be they'll probably be able to fix that issue.
No, because there's nothing more frustrating than spraying paint, trying to swim in it, and realize that you can't move that much.
Especially as a roller, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a roller when I got all the lags. So frustrating.
Well, hopefully that's the worst we'll see.
Yeah. So what were you guys' favorite weapons?
Splattershot Junior, definitely. Splattershot Junior is so good.
Splattershot Junior Masteries?
I suppose the Splattershot Senior.
Senior? How come?
It's more accurate. I can shoot further.
Yeah, but
although
What do you mean more accurate?
It is.
Yeah, well,
it sprays less. It has a lower spread. But
Yes.
with the Junior, you get the advantage that you get Halo's bubble shield, which is just amazing.
yeah, the bubble shield in this game, like, I hear people talking about how the roller is, like, the best weapon in the test fire, but honestly, if I were to say they're the best weapon, I'd probably say it's the Junior, mainly because, like, the high rate of fire means that in a close quarter situation, you can get kills really easily. And then, like, having the bubble shield where you're completely invincible, like, if you get cornered or put in a situation where, like, you're surrounded in your enemy team's ink and there's, like, one or two people shooting, you can kill those two people because you're invincible, they can't touch you. And then, like, even though it has less accuracy, it spreads out more, so it covers more ground than just shooting straight forward with the Splattershot Senior with the Charger. So I honestly think that Splattershot Junior is probably the best weapon.
I did come across the bubble shield, and I did use it, but with the regular Splattershot, I actually did cover a lot of ground with the ink balloons.
Oh yeah, true. It's nice that with the splat bombs that as opposed to the suction bomb and the regular bomb that the Splattershot Junior had, the splat bombs, they explode instantly, which is really nice. For if you're in a close quarter situation, you can just throw them out there and surround your opponent with ink so that they can't move anywhere else. And also they take a lot less ink, so you can throw more than just one, as opposed to the other ones where, like, you can throw one and then you're left to having just a little bit of ink left to fire.
So you
Especially
consider
with the
this? Do you consider this one's more like a thing to lay down ink? Because actually, I was using them more as I would grenades on another shooter. More like whenever I encountered another player, I would throw one, or here and there. But I wouldn't really use them to cover the ground with ink.
It's interesting because in other shooters, you would use the grenade to take out your enemy, but in this one, it's kind of you have to adjust to using it to cover the ground in ink. But for me, that was a little bit of a challenge because, like I said, the shooters are mainly just to kill people. But in this one, it took a bit for me to realize that I'm using the grenade incorrectly.
Well, everyone likes just spamming the trigger, holding down the trigger, spamming all their nades, and this game rewards that. It doesn't punish you for it.
Yeah, true.
And that's something that makes it a lot of fun.
Do you think it's a spray and pray kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. This game is only spray and pray.
Spray and pray the game.
Yep. Now let's talk about the least favorite weapons of the test fire.
Oh man, like I'm excited to see how people use chargers when the game, like further down the line. Maybe if this game has a competitive scene, I'd like to see how people use the chargers, because I didn't think the charger was a bad weapon, but just in Turf War and in the maps that we had, it just wasn't very useful. Like I can see it being more useful in situations like in Walleye Warehouse, for example. I think one of the big issues is that most people were put in like close quarter situations because the hallways were usually pretty narrow, and like in that situation you can just get blown back by a splatter shot or splatter shot junior or overroller coming at you. But if we have like wider open area, I think that there's like less room to get caught by an enemy and without a way to escape, and then in that situation I think the charger can do pretty well.
The charger for me was actually the most underwhelming. I saw a bunch of videos before and I thought it looked really fun. Like you said, in Turf War it is a little harder to use, but I feel in the ranked mode it's going to be a cornerstone of, the King of the Hill mode and the other modes that they're going to have.
I think it's just down to team setup, because for example when I tried to use the charger myself, I stayed off laying in as much as I would with other weapons, and I would just try to get high ground somewhere near my teammates, and then just picking off opponents here and there would actually help them ink the place more than they actually would before. So instead of thinking about the charger as a laying ink weapon, I was just like helping out by getting kills, because every time you kill someone they stay dead for like 10 seconds. 10 seconds, if you kill let's say, I don't know, 10 people, it's already so much time that you have someone on the other team not laying down ink, that it's just helpful to be a killer, I guess, for your team.
The other thing about the charger is I feel like some people don't really know that they don't have to charge it up all the way. So when it comes to laying down ink, it's harder for them.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And like also, again, close quarter situation. If like someone's really close to you, people need to realize that you don't have to charge it up all the way. You can just flick it, and it can do enough to where you can get a kill on someone that's like in your face.
You can definitely say that the charger is more of an advanced weapon. You have to really think about strategies, while a lot of the others are just pray and spray. This one, there's a lot more thought put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a support weapon, although I've seen people spray and actually be good at spraying it.
Yeah, and I saw this one video, it was talking about strategies for the charger, and it definitely said, that it is more of a support weapon. Is to like, a key thing is to have a height advantage over your enemies, so that, it's harder for them to be able to just run up on you. Whereas if you have the height advantage, then you can just get them from above. And it's also important to, like, from a distance, lay down paths of ink for your opponents to swim, to lay out straight streams of ink for your partners to swim into.
I still don't think it's my worst weapon though. Actually, if I were to choose the one I didn't like was the normal splatter shot, just because the other three seem more interesting and fun to me. Probably an unpopular opinion though.
Yeah, the splatter shot actually used a lot of ink for me, at least. It made throwing grenades a little hard.
Alright, what about the weapons you guys are looking most forward to?
Aerospray MG. Because I loved the splatter shot and the high rate of fire, and being in a close quarter situation, you get kills like super fast. And because of how quickly the Aerospray MG fires, and it has, even though it's even less focused than the splatter shot junior is most likely, you can cover so much really, really quickly. And I'm in love with it. Plus the Seeker set, what they showed, I believe it was Aerospray MG and the Seeker and the Inkzuka. I think that's a nice set. You can, if you need to shoot straight, you can toss out a Seeker or use the Inkzuka. Whereas just covering a ton of area, just start shooting with the Aerospray MG. I love it.
I'm excited for the paintbrush, because it's it's a faster than the paint roller, which my biggest concern with the paint roller is it's really slow. You don't really have a lot of reaction time. But I don't think we'll see that until August.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very interested in how the ink brush is going to work. What I'm looking forward to, at least.
I'm actually looking forward to the blaster. That's not a weapon a lot of people talk about, but I think it was interesting how, some people hide in their ink a lot, so the blaster could kind of throw them off. But I think it's a really cool weapon.
Yeah, it's almost like a grenade launcher kind of weapon. It shoots like a ball of ink and then it explodes after a little bit. And if you hit someone head on, it can get a kill pretty easy.
And it's good for people hiding around corners and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really want to see that one and the 52 Gal that they released the Japanese video like a couple days ago. I just see it like that, like Team Fortress 2 grenade launcher, like one body shot and you get a kill. So it's more like a really low rate of fire, but if you get one or two shots into someone, it's just like an insta kill. So that will also be good for people like trying to get more into the combat and less the laying ink.
I can only imagine how the meta would change once people actually figure out how to aim and everything. Something like the Jet Squelcher for one of the new weapons, where it does have a slow rate of fire, but has the longest firing range.
Yeah, speaking of aiming, what do you guys think of the motion controls?
Love it.
Yeah.
Hate it. Never been a fan personally of myself of motion controls. I bought a Wii and it sat in the corner and collected dust just because I couldn't motion control.
I like the motion controls personally. At the beginning, I didn't think that I liked the motion controls, and I think that they do take a little bit of time getting used to. But the way I use motion controls is like if I need to like quickly change direction, then I mostly find myself using the right stick to move left and right. But if I need to do like a short, tiny like twitch adjustment, then I'll just move my gamepad, and I don't have to worry about like if I'm moving the stick too far. I think it just takes a little bit of time to get used to motion controls, I think. But I mean, people have been doing fine without it, so if you can manage without them, then hey, good for you. But I personally love the motion controls in this game.
I think that there you go.
The first thing I did after the tutorial was turn off my motion controls, because I don't know why they don't let you, I think it's move left or right with the stick while you have the motion controls on, but that really threw me off, so I definitely prefer using the stick to aim.
It's just like a straight thing they did, no?
My problem with it was that you can't really jump and aim at the same time if you're not using motion controls because of the location of the stick and the jump X button. So if you're jumping a lot, motion controls would probably be in your favor.
I think that also depends on the type of player as well. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that even with motion controls.
To me, it's like we will see the two things, because we don't know if there's going to be another kind of layout for the controls. Probably there will be. I think there will be. But if not, maybe, I don't know if you guys ever played Halo 2, but it will be the comeback of the claw, where you can just use your index finger for jumping and aim with the middle one instead on the stick. So it's kind of like a weird setup, but it works. And yeah, definitely aiming and jumping is going to be an important thing, especially if you can just switch to squid when you jump. So it just helps a lot with movement.
To be completely honest, I even forgot there was a jump button sometimes, just because I was aiming with the right stick. So like Emily said, for those using motion controls, jumping would be a lot easier.
So in Walleye Warehouse, there's this little ledge, and I would be aiming, I would be trying to get up the ledge. But I know a lot of people don't really experience the need to use the jump.
I use the jump more when I am on a squid, like trying to get from one platform to another. I will jump as a squid, but as a kid, not that much actually.
I usually just jumped to avoid rollers, really.
Has that worked out pretty well? Because I honestly forgot that I could jump to get rid of the roll to avoid rollers.
If I time it right, I can completely jump over them.
Good if you see them coming, but there's not really much you can do if one of them catches you by surprise.
So in the end, who likes it and who doesn't? Because it sounds a bit divided right now.
I like it.
I like it.
I don't.
I don't.
I love it.
Oh, deal breaker.
All
So I
right.
get to say yeah.
Majority rule, got it.
Motion controls, Master Ace. If you're not using motion controls, get good.
That's a benefit though, aiming while jumping, but what about accuracy? I actually feel that I'm a bit less accurate when doing that.
I mean, my hands are. I think like the issue of accuracy is like. I think that it's a little bit weapon dependent, but I think that it kind of your accuracy is going to be dependent on like how steady your hands are. Because my hands are pretty steady whenever I'm holding the gamepad, so I don't have to worry about like my arm twitching and then completely missing a shot.
But do we know how accurate these sensors are? Because if we go back to the original Wii, I remember people like going crazy with the baseball game, you know, like full on doing a swing. And then when everybody started realizing you could just like fling your wrist super fast and it would basically be the same, then it's a question about the sensors being accurate, not really about you being accurate.
Yeah, but the thing about that is like it's going to be more responsive because it's using just the gyroscope inside the gamepad as opposed to like the sensors on is supposed to using the sensor bar that the Wii had.
I guess it's yay. 3-2.
So the game coming out on Friday, very exciting. Lots of different pre-order bonus options for people who have decided to pre-order.
Yep, I ordered it from GameStop because I wanted the amiibo costumes, and I'm really hoping that since we do have since we do have Inkling costumes in Smash, I really hope that doesn't hurt Inkling's chances of getting into Smash. I'd really love to see them.
Well, if you've seen the Inkling Miis, they're pretty ridiculous looking.
They're creepy. A little creeped out.
They're creepy. I saw this. I don't know if you guys ever watched Powerpuff Girls, but I saw this thing on Tumblr, and it compared the image to where these three bad guys wore costumes of the Powerpuff Girls, and it's sort of like that, but it just ends up being creepy. And honestly, I'd actually be curious if they would put that into if you could use that Mii in Mario Kart as well.
And I'm going to be getting it from Target. They've got the squirt gun, which I think is pretty cool. So. It's kind of small though.
I pre-ordered mine from Best Buy. For those who know about Best Buy's Gamers Club Unlocked, it's 20% off the game, so a $60 Wii U game would get you about $12 off.
I got mine from GameStop because basically here it was the only one who carried any pre-orders, and when I went to the retail store they told me pre-orders were all gone, but I talked a bit with the guy and he said just check online. I checked online. It took me like about a week to finally get pre-order on both the girl and the boy amiibo and then the game with the squid amiibo, because in Europe is the only way to get the squid. There's no 3-pack over here. And as a pre-order bonus I'm getting a t-shirt, which apparently there's no size that I can actually choose, so hopefully it will be something I can use.
I saw on Nintendo UK that they were selling pre-orders for Splatoon, and that they had like a bunch of different ones. That was the one with the shirt, the one with the it was the shirt, the game, and then the squid amiibo. But like they had the different sizes on the website. So
it's an interesting move for Nintendo to have the squid only available in a 3-pack here in the States, and then in the UK they have it only if you buy the game, but then in Japan they have the squid separately. So I thought that was kind of an interesting move by Nintendo.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
I would assume general supply and demand. Perhaps they'll release the squid a little bit later, since they can't even seem to stock the girl and the boy for very much.
Actually, first I thought it was more because if you see the people getting more into amiibos from Smash Bros. That are just trying to collect them, it's more a US thing. I don't think in Europe the prices are as high as they are in America right now, so people here are not collecting them as much. So making the 3-pack in the US, just for someone who wants the amiibos, is like a secure sale that you're just gonna buy all 3 of them.
Oh, that is true. Supply and demand.
And I know some of the other pre-order bonuses. There's a shop in UK with squid hats. Someone, the pre-order has a double-sided poster. I think at Toys R Us you get $5 off an amiibo when you buy Splatoon.
Good luck finding an amiibo to buy that isn't Mario.
I thought it was kind of cool that this is one of the first games where, as far as we know, only the dedicated Splatoon line will get you the different costumes. But I've read somewhere that they might add support for other amiibos.
I really hope they do. I want to wear a Kirby shirt while I'm inking everybody.
Yeah, and for those people that don't know, the amiibos unlock in-game outfits. So the Inkling boy gets you a samurai outfit, the Inkling girl gets you a schoolgirl costume, and the squid amiibo gets you a robot costume.
Alright. I think this is a good time to move over to SplatFest and DLC. I'm actually not familiar with this. What is it?
Why are we talking about
SplatFest?
SplatFest.
The SplatFest is gonna be basically an event. They're trying to do something like to make you play some kind of playlist that is gonna be dedicated, and you choose sides. So on each region they're gonna have different ones. So basically in Japan you're doing something like rice against something.
Rice and bread.
Rice and bread.
What would you rather have for
get,
breakfast?
then you get like dogs versus cats. Rock versus pop, I think, is the other one.
Yeah, for music.
And at the end of it, if your chosen side wins, you get this special item that you can then trade somehow. We don't know exactly.
Yeah, it was the Super Sea Snail, and how that works is that it lets you get an extra slot in your gear so that you can get additional abilities for it.
Yeah, you can do that with Spyke and the Booyah base.
Why don't you explain these abilities further?
Well, I know that you go to Spyke and Booyah base, you give him one of the shells, and he lets you unlock an extra slot on your gear. So each gear has a base ability you can have, but it also has slots for extra abilities that you can unlock based on when you play more games. You can unlock each slot and add more abilities to your gear.
And which kind of abilities are we talking about here?
There are some that are like Inksaver main and Inksaver sub, which decrease the amount of ink you use for your main and sub weapons respectively. There are abilities that are there's speed up, which lets you run faster. There are abilities that increase your damage, decrease how much damage you take. And then there's some other abilities like Ninja Squid and Stealth Jump, which Ninja Squid, it makes it so that you swim a little bit slower in your ink, but even if you're swimming at max speed, you don't leave a trail, so people won't be able to detect you if you're swimming in your ink. And then Stealth Jump is whenever you do a super jump, you usually have a marker that shows where you're going to be. So if there's an enemy there, they can just like stay at that spot, wait for you to super jump there, and then get the drop on you. But if you have stealth jump, your super jump is slow, but also no one will be able to tell where you super jump to.
I think Spyke also lets you change a certain stat on your piece of gear to a different one. I believe it's random, but
Yes,
yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah, all the abilities are
Solid.
completely random, and I think they should be random because I would not like to see a roller with plus 12 speed, since the abilities do stack. I don't know to the extent of which they stack, but I do know that abilities stack on top of each other. So if you have, like, say, 2 Inksaver mains, then you're going to be using a lot less ink than if you only had 1 Inksaver main.
Also, the original stat from each clothing item is different depending on when you buy it. So they keep changing every week. There's gonna be like 4 or 5 different ones. So basically, if you want one because of the looks, but want a specific stat on it, you're gonna have to wait to buy it. You can't have both of the same like 2 of the same item. So you basically can sell one and get the other one you want afterwards. I see a lot of RPG elements in this. Something like putting stones on armor when you're playing something like an MMO, let's say.
And I don't know if they've talked about it, but do you guys know if they're going to be adding DLC gear?
I thought they said that they would in the direct, but
I would hope it'd be free. As in, you still have to work for it. But back to the RPG elements, as Robbie had said. When you put on clothes, you have to play with them, like wearing them, to unlock the extra powers. So, personally, I can see a lot of clothes breeding. Also, overall, looking at Splatfest, I actually just see that as a double XP 24-hour event, sort of like how MMOs usually have a double XP weekend.
That's true. Also, the clothing, I think, is gonna be something like a set. So let's say I will have one set of clothing with all stats for, let's say, speed, and I know I will use it for my roller, and then I will have a set with different stats, and I will use it for another weapon. So every time I change weapon, I'm also gonna change my clothing.
Yeah, it's a match whatever weapon you're using, whatever weapon set.
The meta is large with this game.
It's gonna be complicated, but we still have to see how much you can actually stack.
Alright, with paywall, is there going to be a paywall?
Probably not. I doubt that they said in the direct that they're going to be doing frequent updates, but it said that there are going to be a bunch of free updates. Like, the only paywall-ish kind of thing that I see is like the amiibo, but even then it's like you don't really need to get that gear. Like, you can get gear, you're likely going to be able to find gear in a shop that has the same main ability that any of the amiibo gear have. So, I mean, just an appearance thing.
So you don't think there's going to be a cash shop where you pay for credits and use those credits to buy what everybody else can buy?
I don't think so.
I really hope not, because that's borderline pay to win.
Yeah,
But not quite.
I don't really see Nintendo doing that either. I know they did that with Mario Kart, but that was just such a huge amount of DLC. But I believe in the Direct they did say that everything up till next August even was supposed to be free.
Well, even the DLC in Mario Kart, most of the DLC was pretty much nerfed or very balanced, if not worse than the original characters.
The only paywall I really see with the amiibo is not about the costumes, but more about expanding the single player. Because every time you play with an amiibo selected, you get new challenges. So basically you get to replay the single player with a different weapon. Because the original one, it only lets you play with certain weapon or weapons. I have no idea exactly if you can change whenever you want or not. But when you select an amiibo, one will give you challenges to play the single player with a charger, so you get to replay the whole thing, and it's basically adding with each amiibo 5 to 6 hours of gameplay to the game.
Yeah, each amiibo unlocks 20 challenges, and basically it's just different weapons. But I thought it was really cool how Nintendo actually even included a single-player campaign in Splatoon.
Yeah, I'm actually quite curious to how the single player is going to actually end up being, because usually when you see multiplayer games like Call of Duty or Halo, the single player kind of almost feels like an afterthought. I mean, take Battlefield for example. The single player sucks, but that's because they focus on the multiplayer. So I'm actually really curious to see how the single player ends up being in comparison to the multiplayer.
I think it'll be a pretty fun little adventure thing, because looking at all these videos of people playing single player, it reminded me a lot of Super Mario Galaxy, in that you have different large platforms that present a different kind of challenge each time, and then you super jump to different platforms with different goals, and every level has one main theme to that level. It's not just you don't run into a situation where it's oh, I'm basically just playing this level but harder. It's every level is different and unique. We've seen some of the levels have invisible floors where you have to spray ink on the invisible floor to reveal the path that you're supposed to go. And I think single player is going to be pretty fun. It'll also, I guess, mostly for the splatter shot, since that's, if you don't have an amiibo, then you'll only be able to play the splatter shot. But it also gives a chance for the player to get a little bit more used to the controls if they're not totally on point with getting used to the controls. So,
well, on top of that, it looks like you do need to actually grind the single player to unlock certain things from multiplayer as well, sort of like clothing and other weapons.
Like the hero outfit with the... You'd have to finish the whole single-player campaign to get that.
Yeah, and I can see them hiding a lot of things in the single player, meaning...
Like the scrolls.
Of course it's forcing you to play the single player. It's kind of forcing replayability on itself.
I thought it was an interesting shift between the multiplayer being a straight-up third-person shooter and the single player being, a combination of the third-person shooter, but also it has a very platformer type feel to it.
That's true. It has a very distinct kind of gameplay from each one to the other. One thing that I wonder about the DLC with this distinction is that we already know we're going to eventually get more maps for the multiplayer, but will we ever see more of a single-player DLC?
I'd be down for that.
That's something I would pay for.
The amiibos already have unlock challenges in single player.
But you're just replaying the same maps you did once with a different weapon.
True. Well, especially if that's the case, I'd probably see more DLC for the multiplayer, because it seems that's what their main focus is for. But if they did have single player DLC, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't really see it happening, because I see it more happening towards multiplayer.
What about if they actually put more clothing or more items on this DLC single player, since they already do something like this? So you get to play new maps, new platformers, and unlock also things.
I see countless updates on clothing, personally. I don't know about weapons. Weapons take a long time to balance. Clothing, not so much. So I could see a lot of clothing going into it, sort of like how TF2 ends up doing it.
Just because of that, I ask, because I think that this clothing element can be just as easily put together with the weapons as skin weapons, something like CSGO. Maybe you have the same one, but it just looks different. It behaves the same, it's just nicer, and everybody wants to get it because it's the flashy new weapon,
Right. Easy skins, easy life. But yeah, I can totally see that. I'm not too sure about skins in particular. But yeah, I can see a lot of clothing. I don't know how much they're going to update it, but Back when we were talking about like the amiibo thing earlier, honestly, when I first heard about the shop where you could buy things, I was thinking a lot of Mario caps, Luigi caps, a lot of Nintendo
gear.
Yeah, a lot of Nintendo gear, but it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem anywhere near that. So that's a good thing. I'm happy about that, but I also wonder what sort of place the amiibos are going to place in Splatoon.
They already
I imagine
did, if you think about it, the skinning of the weapons, it's already there. Because we talk about the new clothing that you get from each amiibo and completing these challenges in single player, but you can also unlock a skin for a weapon with each amiibo. So when you finish all the challenges for the Inkling girl, besides the Schoolgirl outfit, you're getting a reskinned charger. There's also, with the boy, you get a reskinned roller. And with the squid, you get a reskinned, the one that looks like a air spray gun. I forget the name right now.
Aerospray?
Aerospray gun, yeah. So these skins are already there behind the amiibos. At least 3 of them.
And again, this is going to appeal to Pokemon fans because you're going to have to breed for clothing. Breed for weapons.
I want to go a little bit more in depth on the... Because I remember you were talking about that in the scaffold, but...
yeah, it's
go a little bit more in depth of what you mean by like breeding with clothing.
So the big point of it is you unlock certain abilities for each clothing by wearing them and actually taking them into battles. So essentially what happens if you like a particular article of clothing, you're going to have to sit there and you're going to have to buy it and then quote unquote breed this certain article of clothing to have the power-ups that you want. And if it doesn't have that, you throw it away, and then you buy another one and breed that. Sort of like it all goes into the ultimate meta game. Although that is quite speculation. Anything can change between the beta and the final. But I can see a lot of, I like this piece of article of clothing, so then you breed it for the power-ups.
You can actually order it of people from the main plaza.
Can you trade?
The people who are there standing are actually players that you encountered in the multiplayer, and they will have the set of clothing that they were actually wearing. So if you see someone with a jacket that you want, and let's say maybe it even has the stats, because we're obviously looking at the stats, and you want that, you can order it, and then it will arrive at the shop, and you can just get it like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Spyke does.
Now, is that a, what do you call it, like a bazaar, where you can sell and buy certain things?
No, there's no shop. You just see someone wearing something that you want, and then you go to this Spyke guy, and you are like, can you get me that? And you basically order it, or that's how they're calling it, so you can get something that someone else was wearing that you encountered on multiplayer.
Like so fully upgraded?
Probably not, just the main stat, I believe.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about upgrading the alternative, you know.
Well, I guess the thing about like that is that, you know, since you probably won't have to like toss a piece, like if you like a piece of gear and you want to like max out with the abilities that you want, you know, since it's random. Since we don't know what if Spyke needs the Super Sea Snails to reroll abilities, or if you can just like use coins, but if you can use coins, you know, to reroll abilities, then you won't need to necessarily toss that gear and then buy the same gear and then grind to, you know, level it up over and over. You can just have get some coins and then have Spyke reroll abilities until you have what you want.
That's still a lot of work, considering the reroll is random, and you don't. I don't know if you can choose, but I think you can choose the one that it's gonna reroll one that you wanted there, and then it goes away. It's just gonna be a time-consuming thing in the end.
A lot of grinding.
And
Especially-
you can re-roll the same slot, so you don't have to necessarily buy a different clothing unless you really want to level it up again. Or you don't have
Robbie,
coins.
You make grinding sound like a bad thing in Splatoon, but honestly, I'm going to be playing so much that it is not going to feel like grinding at all.
It's not about the grinding that I complain, it's about that I'm gonna have to play a lot of SplatFest instead of playing something that I would rather play, like ranked battles or something, you know? It's
Right.
taking me away from something I want to do so I can get something else.
Well, SplatFest is only 24 hours. So, obviously, if you want to do a particular thing, you're going to have to pick something. You're going to have to grind it out. Taking Splatfest out of the equation, basically.
This is not a good thing for weekend warriors. Just all those guys who cannot play except for the weekends.
Oh. All right. What about voice chat? How does everybody here stand on voice chat?
I think that with voice chat, I think that it's fine without it. I really think that Splatoon is fine without voice chat. Like in random games, we definitely don't need it because one, Nintendo doesn't want the issue with like people, yelling profanities at each other, and also considering that you're not just paired up with people in your region, you're paired up with people all over the world. If we had voice chat with random matchmaking, then nobody would be able to understand each other because you have people from Japan, people from Germany, people from France, people from America talking, and no one understands what they're talking about. But later in August, when we get the update that allows you to create 4-person teams with your friends, I think that mode could use voice chat, but it ultimately doesn't require it because you'd be using some kind of third-party source to get your friends together to play in the team in the first place. And if you are using that, then you can use something like TeamSpeak, Skype, or whatever to talk to your friends that way. So I think it would be nice to have in matches with your friends, but it's not. I don't think it's completely 100% necessary.
I sort of agree. I think it's a good decision on Nintendo that they don't allow voice chat in random battles because, like you said, you have people from Japan, from Europe, and all over the place that probably won't speak English or may just yell at you for not doing things correctly. And that's a good thing. It's very encouraging to play on your own, try to get better yourself. But when you start to get into the meta, when you start to get into the higher ranks, you'll want to form a team. And I think that voice chat would be very, very good to have in there, even though people would rather use TeamSpeak or something like that. But I think it would be even better if they would include the option for voice chat. And I said this earlier, but again, with what Emily said about parental controls, they could enable voice chat across the entire game. But if the parental controls say don't allow anything over E to play, like you have to be at least teen, then disable the voice chat. You can't even enable it. But enable it if you want to, if you don't have to worry about parental controls. That way everybody can kind of enjoy the same pace as everyone else.
Voice chat for some people was a huge controversial issue when they announced that they weren't going to be adding it because I believe one of the producers or developers said that they didn't like the toxicity of voice chat. I feel like voice chat isn't necessary when you're playing with random people because the game itself is so intuitive that you should just know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, what you should do next, and the objectives. But when you do get into the higher competition levels, like they do it with Smash, where you have you and your friend in your own lobby, and you guys have your own voice chat. I hope that's what they do in August. As far as voice chat being necessary, I don't completely agree with that.
I heard somewhere that you'll be able to use the D-pad to make basic commands to talk to your teammates.
Booyah! Come
over
on!
Here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what they're?
Yeah, it's like
Those aren't that great.
Yeah, they're not too great. I was hoping that after I saw that you could send like a little message with the D-pad. I was hoping that they'd have something on the left or right to be able to also say instead of just only two things. But hey.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it was more like over here, or
They have one that says to me.
I think in the European one it says to me, but in America it says come on, which come on isn't very clear, honestly.
no, come on isn't. Come on is like bring it on, and then it's like booyah, like I wrecked you, which the other team wouldn't hear. So there's honestly booyah and come on for America is not a good word choice.
No, not very. I'm not gonna get much done.
Come on, Nintendo.
But I feel like the matches are so short that there's not really much time to coordinate a specific strategy. I feel like the only thing you really can coordinate is your team's weapon choices. But if, like I said, if you're playing with your friends, voice chat would be amazing for stuff like that.
No, now you say not much can get done in 3 minutes. I play mainly Counter-Strike right now, and each round is 2 minutes. A lot can happen in 2 minutes. More than anyone can think.
Especially
3
when
minutes.
you're trying to climb a ranked ladder.
Yeah, especially. In 3 minutes, a lot can happen. Even though it doesn't seem like that much, it can seem like you're playing for 30 whole minutes in that single little 3 minute window because of a game that is actually competitive.
So basically the voice chat is a huge division between the competitive community wanting it for these ranked battles or for team strategies and for knowing the setup of your weapons beforehand, all these things, and then we have the casuals that just like would rather live without it.
Exactly. Like I said, it's as long as there's some way to communicate with your team. I'm sure. As I think Accent said earlier, people can use Skype or their phone, TeamSpeak. I mean, there's other options, but it would be a nice thing for Nintendo to do to enable voice chat for an included package for team battles.
As far as team battles go, I have a little concern about how they're going to be doing. I know you can do a pre-made group of 4, but I'm really interested in how they're going to do, if you and a friend want to play together on the same team every time, how are they going to go about putting you guys on the same team? Like, are they going to do you and your friend and then another pre-made group of 2, or what do you guys think of that?
Well, in the Nintendo Direct, they said that if you go into Terra 4, in particular, if you group up with a friend, you'll be placed on random teams. So you might never be on the same team, and I think that's actually a pretty bad thing, considering that he's your friend. You want to play with him, not against him. But in the ranked battles, I don't quite remember what they said about it, or I might have misheard them, but as long as, say, I could request a friend to play with me and we go in a lobby together, as long as they stay on my team and I get paired up with 2 randoms and then the entire other team is randoms, then that's what I would mostly prefer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd rather be, I'd rather give you the option of, because sometimes it's kind of more fun to play against your friend, but at the same time you want to be on the same team consistently instead of just random. So hopefully they'll do something with that when they allow the pre-mates in August.
I would always, 100% of the time, rather be with my friend than playing against him.
Right.
I also have the concern about the 8-team pre-made. So basically having a lobby where you can get 4 versus 4 and already know everybody. I know maybe this makes not a lot of sense for a lot of people out there, but when you have, let's say, game battles from MLG where you're competing with your team to climb this ladder and doing it for a competitive reason, there's a lot of importance into setting up a game of 4 versus 4 when you know the 4 are one team and the other 4 are going to be the one team without them having to be scrambled around.
The other thing with that is I don't know 7 other people with a Wii U. So if they would let you do, us here in the podcast versus 2 other random people or something like that, I don't know if that would be completely fair for the other team. But as far as that, I don't really know that many people with a Wii U to do a full 8 group.
Well, it's not about knowing 7 other people. It's when you're in a team and trying to play competitive. Let's say you have your team of 4 people already. So you go into this website where you can compete and you will be matched against another team of 4 people. Then you guys can agree on a time and let's say get together and play against each other, team versus team, and then report the winner to this website. And that's how you play sometimes competitively when there's not a competitive scene already built into the game.
Which ultimately would have been really nice. I would really like to see a huge competitive feature for this game. I know they have the ranked battles and the casual ranked battles or whatever, but it'd be really nice to see a large competitive platform for Splatoon, but I'm not too sure if Nintendo will really react towards it since it is a shooter. I mean, people are gonna want to be competitive, just like Smash, but I think that ultimately depends on the community itself whether they will want it or not.
Well, I've already seen a few websites pop up that are going to have these kind of ladders, competitive ladders outside of the game. But at the same time, it's a big question about if they're going to include Splatoon in the Nintendo Championships they just announced. Or is it just going to be time runs and Smash?
But that's a perfect example, though, because, Nintendo doesn't really have very many competitive games. It's not a competitive scene. They have Smash that's mainly driven by the community, and then they have now they have Splatoon. I mean, I guess you could see Mario Kart as something competitive if you do the time trials, but it's not really. It's too RNG to really do something like that. But now you have an actual shooter, something that's probably the most competitive thing that Nintendo's ever produced.
Well, looking at it from the standpoint of someone who used to play competitive games, I actually think they put a lot of effort into making it feel like an esport game. The maps are sized as arena-sized maps, the weapons are pretty well balanced, and just the team element on it is so important in this game that I actually do see people picking it up and just dedicating a lot of their time trying to get better at it.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And someone coming from a competitive field, it would be great for a game like this it'd be nice. It'd be a nice change aside from what you see with Halo 2 or TF2 or Counter-Strike or Call of Duty. It'd be a big change. It's a very team-based game. And be something to really rely on to have something new.
So what else would you guys like to see in the game coming, let's say August, with this new big update?
Things that I would like to see. I know that we're probably not going to get anything like too surprising, in August that hasn't already been covered in the direct. But I guess for future updates, like Oma said, I'd like to see a ranked turf war because I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't, include a ranked turf war option. But let's see, ranked turf war, new weapons definitely, because the whole messy ink thing. I think it'd be pretty cool if we had a weapon that was visually similar to Flood from Super Mario Sunshine. I think that'd be pretty nice to see. But also, I'm sure that this probably won't have to have like a big update to fix. But after looking at some of the review copies, I noticed that when you're in the middle of waiting for but if you're in the middle of waiting for a game to start, that you're unable to back out to go back to Booyah base, and I'm really, really hoping that, and hopefully by the time the game comes out, or if not then quickly after the game comes out, that you'll be able to back out before a game starts.
Yes, it's interesting that you say Mario Sunshine, because my brother and I were talking about this the other day, about a game mode where, one team has, they spray ink, but the other team has flood. And so one team sprays ink and the other team cleans up. So that would be another cool mode. I doubt we'll get that, but it would be a really cool idea.
Well, I guess essentially that'd just be Turf War, really.
Yeah, it's since the ranks are basically King of the Hill, I'm actually quite curious as to what other game modes there might be. I know this is kind of a stretch, but I think it'd be kind of interesting to have some sort of capture the flag mode.
Well, tower mode is kind of similar to capture the flag, but I get you're saying it's not exactly like capture the flag.
It's a mix between like capture the flag and King of the Hill, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ranked mode is basically King of the Hill.
How else would you capture the flag in the Splatoon world, though?
I don't know. That's why I said it was a stretch.
The thing that tower mode is actually not going to be there at launch, but the only one that will be is the King of the Hill.
I'm really excited to see what Rainmaker mode is. And then it's on the direct.
We haven't really heard much about that at all.
I really wonder what that's going to be.
I'd also like to see, I know people were complaining about not being able to change their weapon. People were not able to change their weapons in the lobby, and you have to do it after the game or before you even go into the lobby.
Alright, what about basic strategies?
Basic strategies, well, of course, ink as much territory as you can, but
of course, that's the main disappointing.
I think it's definitely important to keep in mind that kills are, incredibly important. It's not like it's not the main goal, but you should, if you
kills
have the
are
opportunity to get a kill, you should definitely go for it, because putting your opponent's team into a situation where they're straight up not able to put ink down is definitely important for your team to be able to cover more ink, and if you get a KO on somebody, you're able to undo the trail of ink that they just put down.
Well, it's not necessarily the undo. It kind of creates an explosion that kind of inks that area with your color.
Well, true, but if they had come from if they came from, say, like a straightaway path, and then you get the KO on them and you're still alive, you can go to the path that they created and cover that up with your team's ink.
Sure.
Also, in terms of getting KOs on opponents, because you're able to swim backwards and get out of bad situations. But if you're able to shoot behind your opponent so that you trap them in a spot where in every direction that they can't go into their own ink, then they're not able to run away, and you can get the kill like that.
They're out of ink.
Yep, out of ink and out of places to run.
Nowhere to hide.
A strategy I've been using, and then I've been seeing in a lot of the live streams, are trying to get to the center as quickly as possible.
For me, it's a matter of spraying as much ink in front of me as possible until I reach the middle, because that allows you to travel from I know you can jump from your launch pad, but getting there to the middle faster is recommended, in my opinion.
I usually ink as I go, so every time the round starts, I just ink everywhere that the enemy probably can't get to first, and then I'm going from there. But then you have, but talking with basic strategies, I can see a large meta, a large need for chargers having support. Even though kills aren't really the goal, you don't even get any points for kills. But it's, as Robbie said, they're dead for 10 seconds at least. So you have, once you get a kill, it's enough time. Remember when I said that a lot can happen in 3 seconds, or 3 minutes? Those 10 seconds, you can cover a lot of area.
What about the little tricks that people are already coming up with? For example, to get to the center faster, you can basically jump, shoot, turn into a squid, land on the puddle that you just created, jump, shoot, turn into squid, and you're basically doing these little puddles and just going incredibly fast, at least twice as fast as you would normally swimming. We have that one already. We also have proven that if you just hold down the right trigger to shoot and just keep toggling your left one to turn into a squid and then a kid and then a squid and then a kid, you are eliminating almost all of the spray, at least from the splatter shot. So all your shooting is completely focused, which is like basically like a bunny hopping from Counter-Strike applied to squid to Splatoon, sorry, in order to get actually better kills instead of more splatter.
Another thing I've seen is squid canceling, which is when you're climbing a wall in squid form and you get to the top, it usually have to jump to the top of the platform in squid form, but squid canceling just gets rid of that whole animation. You save a couple of seconds, but I haven't gotten it to work quite yet.
Yeah, it's basically, I think I could see that it's a little bit map dependent for that to work. Like on Wall-E Warehouse, like there's not a bunch of, curved spaces where you can, like go up a little bit of a ramp and then, squid cancel so that you don't have that hop. But in a place like, I believe it was Black Belly Skate Park, where there's a whole bunch of like curved paths going up and down, like that's going to be pretty important for mobility. To be able to, shave a second, like shave a half of a second, by being in the air, just staying on the ground in the ink so you can move quickly from place to place.
Do you guys see all these things being considered glitches and getting patched eventually, or just accepted into the gameplay?
Nah, they're not getting patched. There's no need for it.
I think in a competitive standpoint, if something actually ends up being game breaking, it'll probably be patched. But as far as this go, it looks like it's sort of the meta. Once you get there, it probably won't be patched. Just like a lot of Smash's things don't really get patched that often unless it's truly game breaking.
And most like stuff like squid canceling is just like a physics and animation exploit. It's not a glitch or anything like that. So it doesn't need to be patched out.
Also, jumping seems to be a huge advantage because sometimes it feels like an afterthought as far as, like I said about myself, I forget that there's a jump button, but when it comes to stuff like rollers, just for me, I just jump over them.
Right, and I mean, you can even jump over charger shots if you're good enough. Jump squid.
So another interesting strategy that I saw that I didn't really consider. It almost eliminates the need for that one ability Ninja Squid. Is that if you just slightly tilt your left stick forward or in any direction while you're swimming, you don't get the you don't get the waves that you make if you're going at max speed. So you can sacrifice a little bit of your speed so that you can evade your enemies while you're swimming, so that they can't see where you're coming from. You can get the drop on them.
Oh, it's interesting that most of these tricks and strategies are actually geared towards mobility.
Never mind, I can't think of anything.
That was the Squidcast.
So I guess for everyone listening, we'll find out if you're a kid or a squid on May 29th.
Fight me. 1v1 me, I swear to God.
Are there even headshots on this game?
No, there's no headshots. Headshots don't count.